Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M,
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
Very thankful, 12th man. They've won us games.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
Our skill set worked great together. Like, he was more speed and I was more power, and then we put together, it was like thunder and lightning, you know.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, welcome in TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations, but today is another Duck Camp special. Look at Olin Buchanan.
Yeah.
Double duck camp.
Double duck. I got the duck hat, got the duck hoodie, but it's very light.
Yeah.
So you can wear it today.
Even when it's 110, you can wear it.
Yeah, because it's so light. It's like think of wearing a T-shirt that will keep you from getting your arms sunburned.
Yeah, all the football coaches do it. I remember Gary Kubiak used to do it before I knew that was a thing.
Yeah.
At Texans practice, he'd wear. Hey, is it typically this hot in August? Is it?
I mean,
I feel like it's July, but maybe
August is hot too. I can remember Halloween getting sunburned on Halloween. It's always hot in Texas in the summer.
It's been, I don't know, the last few days I felt like a violent heat. Anyway.
Hey, by the way, what do you think of this hat?
I like it. I think you wear it well too.
I think Taylor High School should cut a deal with Duck Camp and like their baseball team should wear these.
The Ducks?
Taylor Ducks.
The Taylor Ducks. Which Taylor are we speaking of? Because I know a different Taylor.
Taylor, Texas. That's just
Taylor,
right
Texas.
down.
Sorry, I was thinking Katy Taylor. That's why.
No, Taylor,
sorry.
which is just next to Hutto. And
H-W-O.
so if there's ever a hippopotamus camp closed, they can do the same thing.
Maybe Duck Camp will do that for us. So power rankings, not that they matter, but I like to just let you know what ESPN is thinking about Texas A&M. Number 22 on their ESPN power rankings. Fine. Right around. Notre Dame, number 6.
Okay. Gosh, once again, I guess the Aggie shouldn't even show up, huh?
Well, if you listen to the Luchador podcast yesterday, I
did.
I think you feel a little optimistic.
I've been feeling good anyway. I've been feeling so good that it made me feel bad.
I shouldn't feel this good.
Right, because, I've been there before, but it's a different coach and different scheme, even though, as we know, scheme doesn't matter. But it's still a different scheme. So, but gosh, I just feel good about that matchup.
I feel good about it too, almost to like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah,
why? Like, they're the number 6 team or 7 team in the country. Like, you guys, we have not won big games recently. I guess we have. When was the last big game we won? LSU 23-22 season.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Last year they beat the teams they were supposed to beat.
And lost to the teams that I wanted them to beat.
And Miami. But it's a
it's a different coach.
Listen, I get the feeling when I'm out there at practice that they're just more organized, more efficient.
Yeah.
And that's a heck of a place to start. And I've been breaking down Notre Dame, and look, you just can't deny that they have some offensive concerns, especially with their offensive line. I guess I get it. They feel like their receivers are going to be better than they were last year. They probably will be.
Sure.
But and the running backs are different because they don't have the big, powerful guy that was with the Broncos now.
Yeah.
I think he had a good game in preseason. But they probably still have good speed there and all those things. But I like the matchup.
Obi, there's been times that I've gone into with that thinking like, dude, they got their backup to the backup offensive lineman out there.
You got to take advantage of it.
And then that offensive backup to the backup, George Costanza style.
Yeah.
does great in that game. In that one, there is that hesitation. Like
sure, because but then I tell myself, yeah, but DJ Durkin's not the defensive coordinator. A guy who's actually going to try to take advantage of his advantage.
So after, I don't know if you suggested it, but you mentioned you listened to the Blue and Gold podcast, right?
I listened to
Tyler Horka
the other day,
and the other guy. So I listened to it this morning for a little bit just to kind of hear. They're pretty smitten on Notre Dame, as typically you would expect for a top 10 team. One of the things that came out of that was that, yes, Riley Leonard, he hasn't been named, I guess, the starter, but he's been running with the ones. He's the starter.
Yeah.
And that they're considering doing pod changes on the defense, right?
They're so worried about the heat.
Yeah.
So when they're not going to substitute players. They're going to like hockey, go in shifts with complete, like different set of linebackers. Great. Different set of defensive linemen. Great.
No problem.
All right. Well, hey, whatever it takes. You got to do whatever he thinks the
Am I more of a man than you? That's all I care about, right? And I want A&M to be more men than Notre Dame.
I'm of the mind, and I get it, it's hot and things like that. You got to be aware of that, and there's going to be probably a lot of cramping in that game. But, we've talked about it. One of the things that drove me crazy was the sheer volume of substitutions in the defensive line last year, So I hope Notre Dame spends half their game with their second team out there.
Well, and apparently they're not that well. The two guys are on this, Tyler and Byler, basically were saying that I think it was Tyler Horka who said this, that he's not as worried about the offensive line because Charles Jagusah, I forget how he phrased it, but to the point of Jagusah had only really started one game, so the experience level isn't that big of a deal.
Okay, well, but the guy that's replacing him hasn't started at all.
Right.
And has never played.
Was he a 4-star freshman? Is that right?
I thought he was a 3-star freshman guard, but maybe, it depends on which service you're looking at. And hey, he may be great, but going into the game, if I'm Bateman or whoever's going to call that, because I assume that they're going to move, that A&M is going to move Nick Scorton around a lot.
Yep.
Wherever the best favorable matchup is. Well, I would imagine he's going to be over whoever that left tackle is all the time.
Just going to town.
And I'm going to feel like A&M has an advantage in that matchup.
Yeah. Do you remember who led the team in sacks last year?
Edgerrin Cooper.
Yeah. Do you remember who was second?
Yes, Shamar Turner. I think he had 6.
Was that right? I thought I wrote down 4. But regardless, no, you're right. 6, and then 4 was Walter Nolan, and 1.
Walter had 4?
Walter had 4 based on the stats here. 2023 stats. Let's see if I can pull it up as we're speaking. For some reason, it's not pulling up the individuals. There we go.
I'm surprised he had more than
defense
than Diggs.
I think they all had 4.
Okay.
I think Diggs, Walter Nolan, and one more had 4. So I'm looking at it right here. Here we are. I'm on the sheet right there. Sacks wise, we've got. Why is this all messed up? I'm sorry. Talk for a second, Obi, about what you remember defensively, because it's not popping up for some reason.
Well, I do remember one of Walter's sacks, and it was one of those.
Here we go. I got it.
It was against Arkansas when everybody. I don't mean to disparage Walter. Hey, he made the play, but what happened was everybody was converging on KJ Jefferson except Walter, and as KJ got. I think Edgerrin had his shoulder pad and Turner was around him, and he broke away.
Right.
And then Walter was there.
So here it is. Edge with 8 last year.
Yeah.
Okay. 6 was Shamar Turner, as you said correctly. And then you had Walter Nolan with 4. You had Fidel Diggs with 4 as well.
Okay.
This is not in order. That's why it's taking me a second to respond. Walter, Fidel, they both had 4. And Torian York had 3. So you got 11 sacks from your linebackers last year.
Yeah.
And I think those numbers this year will be more skewed towards the defensive line.
I think you're going to see more sacks from your defensive linemen and probably less from your linebackers, but more from your safeties and nickel.
Yeah.
Because I saw how adept Mike Elko was at dialing up the safety blitzes and the nickel blitzes, and how successful he was at that before.
Damontre Richardson, 1 sack last year. You also got 1.5 from Bryce Anderson. And where's another one? Josh DeBerry with 1 as well.
By the way, have you been hearing what's going on up in Charlotte, North Carolina with Damontre Richardson?
I mean, I know he had a pick the other
he's
day.
like the star, the guy they're talking about, the star.
Good for him.
And you know what? I watched the video, and he looks like he's slimmed down.
Yeah.
Typical of, we talk about the Moffitt
effect, yeah.
and all these things. Typical of what we're saying, how there was an issue, something was wrong last year, and you got your safety, a guy who needs to run and has speed, bulked up like a linebacker, and he looked like a linebacker, and what do you know? He played safety like a linebacker.
Right.
And you get back into a more intelligent way to train by position, and he's looking like he's going to make that team.
Yeah. I saw his pick. I think I saw it yesterday
And he
morning.
looked like he came out like a rocket. Watch him when he makes this pick.
And it felt
boom,
like
there you go.
Like, I felt like he was going to take it to the house.
I mean, look at him. That's not the same guy as last year.
Yeah, he does look thinner. Congratulations to Damontre. We're expecting big things for him. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us. You can text us. If you call us, give us your thoughts at 979-693-1150. We'll pick it up on the Boss Firearms hotline. Boss Firearms, Aggieland's premier gun and accessory shop. They've got all you need to build your next firearm. Check them out at bossfirearms.com. You can text us as well, 979-693-1150. Let's go around the room. Let's say hi to people. Behind the glass, we find the Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. Y'all are coming to me early today.
Yeah, it's 8:12.
Man, he was ready.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had that video all set
OB,
up and ready to go.
I'm trying to step up my game, like your dress game. I'm trying to match that with my producing. You know what I mean? It's got to be the same level.
The beauty of a good producer, and Nick does this, by the way, is you anticipate what the host is going to talk about. You look at the context clues that this host might leave, and then you're like, I could see him going there. And then you put it in. Because I don't think I put Damontre on there at all.
Wow. I feel like we should be having that old ketchup commercial music going about anticipation.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You didn't ever see they play the song Anticipation
while
you're waiting for the...
Do you know what he's talking about?
No.
While you're waiting for the ketchup to
now
come
I
out.
remember. But you know
Carly
that.
Simon.
Carly.
Anticipation.
Yeah.
It's making me wait.
I do remember this now. It took me a moment. I apologize. Billy's like, come on, Nuño. How do you not know? Nick, tell us something.
Nick's Scorton days away from kickoff, right? 11 days, getting closer and closer.
Only 11 days.
11
Crazy.
days. Tomorrow, I guess Thursday we'll be in
single digits.
Yeah.
And to be very honest with you, I'm very happy we have football this weekend. There's not a lot of games that intrigue me, but I am intrigued.
There's your slate, David, right there.
There we go.
That's what's on the slate.
I want to see SMU because I keep hearing that they're going to just run through the ACC. We'll see about that. But I'm interested in their offense. Florida State, Georgia Tech is the one that got my eyes on.
I'm going to be rooting for Georgia Tech. I like Haynes. He's a beast from the East. Didn't work out here, but
like him.
Maybe it wasn't completely his fault. But I like him, and I hope the Ramblin' Wreck will wreck
Wreck Shop.
State. Yeah.
Yep. So looking forward to those games. Thank you, Nick. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Galita Gardner is in the house. Callie, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
It's going well.
Good. Obi, I like the hat. We've got a lot of comments in the YouTube chat about the look. They like someone said it was odd seeing you in a ball cap, but we got a lot of compliments too.
I got too good a hair. But
you got to.
Do you know what kind of duck that is on your head?
I think it's a mallard.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
that's the only kind of duck I know.
He's got a green head. Isn't that a mallard?
I think that's right.
I think you need to make a choice. Either all the hair down or something. You got like 6 hairs. I want it. Yeah, there we go. That's the Obi-Wan Kenobi that I know.
It is a nice hat, though, isn't it?
It's a great hat.
Yeah, it's a great hat. My son tried to commandeer it, but I wouldn't let him have it.
I was going to say, my brother would wear that hat.
Yeah.
I like it.
Everybody in Taylor should have one.
And College Station.
And Anaheim.
Yeah. The Ducks.
Yeah.
You ever watch the Mighty Ducks?
No.
I bet you somewhere there's a school that's called the Mallards.
Google it.
College? High school? Anything?
Yeah, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you. I mean, there's a college called the Retrievers for Golden Retrievers and the Terriers.
You really haven't watched the Mighty Ducks?
I haven't.
Are you familiar with the concept of the Mighty Ducks?
I've heard of it.
Are you familiar with Emilio Estevez?
No.
That's Obi's favorite actor.
Yeah, familiar with Charlie Sheen?
I've heard.
Charlie
not
Sheen.
familiar.
The movie Young Guns.
No. I'm not a big movie girl.
Obviously.
Are you a sitcom girl? Do you watch anything on electronics?
She's a chick flick girl.
Okay, Nick Savage.
She's going to go watch, what's the new one that just came out?
It Ends With Us?
Yeah.
I already saw it.
Who's in that one?
Blake Lively.
Oh, Mrs. Reynolds?
Mrs. Reynolds.
I just saw
Gabe Bach just sent me a text message saying there is, let me look at this. All right, let me get this, Gabe. Always on top.
Hey, now.
The Madison Mallards
of
the Northwoods Collegiate Baseball League. I guess Madison, Wisconsin, I suppose. The Madison
Or
Mallards.
Madison, Mississippi.
Well,
right? Isn't that a place?
Yeah, but his
Isn't that where
wife
Braden
is,
Montgomery's
his
from?
wife's family's from Wisconsin,
Oh, okay,
so I'm
so
thinking maybe that's why he knows
Yeah.
that.
You're probably
Gabe knows
right.
things.
He knows things.
He does.
He knows about the Madison Mallards,
Yeah,
and
he
they
does.
probably should have hats just like this from
You should reach out to
Duck
him.
Camp.
Yeah.
Callie, at some point, you got to know who Emilio Estevez is.
Okay. I'll do my research and get back to
Are
you.
you familiar with his dad?
I don't think so.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen? Please.
He's like a legendary actor, right?
Yeah.
He's like a Hall of Famer.
Well, I'm surprised you don't know Charlie Sheen.
Are these things I should have
What
seen?
did he have? Like a gorilla blood or bat blood? What did he say he had? You know what I'm
I don't know.
He has some kind of like
kind of
blood.
crazy, but he's a big star. Charlie Sheen.
He was.
Well, he was, but
Is Charlie the son?
He's one of the, not Emilio's son.
He's Emilio's brother.
Okay.
And there's a third one too, right? But nobody talks about him.
It must be like Cooper Manning.
It must be like the Iron Claw movie where they wrote out a character.
Charlie Sheen. Oh.
You know him.
So
Tiger Blood. I think he had
he's
Tiger
in Two
Blood.
and a Half Men.
See?
Hello.
Sitcom. Yeah.
Sitcom.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've lost every listener ever.
listener.
Let's from last week to now. Hey, let's actually get some news in here.
Yeah, On3 released their 2024 preseason true freshman All-American team yesterday, and Texas A&M's Terry Bussey was on that on that list. And I know we were talking a lot about Nick Scorton and how we're excited to see him in the maroon and white, but I'm also really looking forward to seeing Terry Bussey and a lot of our other athletes on the field.
You want to see him in what?
In the maroon and white.
In the what?
Not the black.
Okay.
Just kidding. I'm excited about the black ones too. And I know, actually, I don't know, Nick Savage, can you give us your opinion on the alternate uniforms one more time?
They are fire. I can't wait for hopefully a lot of different ones, but we'll see.
Yeah, we've gotten some teasers.
Wait till the teal one comes out one day.
Oh.
Wait till that one comes
teal
out.
one.
I'm so in, David. You have no idea. Let's do it.
Lime green.
I could see that happening in basketball, actually. Teal.
You know what's the worst? Not A&M, the worst football uniforms I've ever seen, ever. It was when we went to Florida about 5 years ago, and Florida came up with these ideas that they wanted their uniforms to actually look like an alligator. So they were like
greenish?
Greenish with scales and heinous look. It was terrible.
I might have to look that up at the break. I want to see
And
what
the
that looks
Aggies
like.
beat them. I remember Eric McCoy body slamming. I mean, literally body slamming a linebacker. He should have got a holding penalty.
Right.
He picked the guy up and threw him down. He body slammed him. And the Aggies won.
Callie, what else?
And looked better doing it.
True. Texas A&M women's basketball announced their non-conference slate for the upcoming season yesterday, and it features 8 home games inside of Reed Arena, and their schedule has 3 Power 4 conference opponents on it, and 4 of the teams that were selected to the NCAA tournament field. So I'm excited to watch our women's basketball team in Reed Arena this season. So.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. All right, let's hit a break here. Should I tell the people what we have on the show today? You decide. Tell them.
Yeah.
Charean Williams, 9 o'clock.
I was waiting for Estevez.
No Emilio Estevez. Jamie Morrison, 9:20.
Okay.
Damontre Moore, 9:35.
All right. More.
Billy Liucci, 10 o'clock hour.
Okay.
An extended, like whatever we did on the Luchador, we're going to add some more substance on the air.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be good. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with 24 and 24. You know we're number 1, right?
4?
Number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah, we actually referenced this guy at some point a few minutes ago. We'll talk about that on the other side. Right now it's 12 Under 12 time, did you or someone you know, well, no, don't even think about that one. Let's think about your organization or your business looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies. Then you need to check out the Association of Former Students who put Aggies of all ages together through these awesome events that they put on throughout the year. They have great events like all Aggie Hullabaloo, Aggie Ring Day Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees. These events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. These options include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com.
See, that's Nick Savage's theme song right there.
Nick, how do you feel about that?
He's anticipating.
Sure, I'll take it.
It's TexAgs Radio.
Who is that, OB? I'm sorry, David.
It's Carly Simon singing.
Okay. It's
I always
TexAgs
thought
Radio.
that would be a great song, like for a laxative. Like on a commercial. Just a thought. I'm into,
you know what I love?
I'm into marketing.
I love when OB says something kind of funny, but he knows it's kind of funny, and he looks at me, waiting for me to laugh, and he starts laughing. Put it on him, please. I like when he can't hold himself. Well, you did that like a former president. The way you did that. Did he speak last night? It's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, are you ready for 24 in 24?
I am. I'm very ready for it.
All right, 24 and 24.
I have a lot of anticipation for this guy.
Yeah, a lot. Is brought to you by FBS Appliance, committed to delivering an exceptional experience from start to finish. You can trust them to provide unparalleled service and support every step of the way, because FBS Appliance is your trusted appliance store. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas, and you can find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. Number 4, OB, is
number 21,
which
Torian
is
York.
Torian York.
Yeah, man,
top 5 player, sophomore, who killed it in his freshman year.
You know, once again, there are those people that get too worked up about the stars when some guy's coming in. What's he ranked? You know, there's a 3-star guy who's a 5-star talent. He came in, like you said, okay, maybe this freshman kid can help out. What do you mean help out? He took over a starting job immediately.
Billy told us during the spring he's starting.
Right. I mean, he got here immediately and turned heads, and then he goes out and gets 74 tackles and 3 sacks and 8.5 tackles for loss, and now he's a captain, because that just goes to show what his teammates, even older guys, think of him.
Yep.
And he's smart, and he's everything you want. I think in a line, he's up to about 236, so he's a big guy in the middle. Mm-hmm. Man, and A&M's been needing some linebackers. They need a linebacker. He has linebacker instincts. He came here as a linebacker, not a guy that was a safety they're trying to make into a line. He was a high school linebacker who was really good and underrated, and now he's a guy that could be an all-conference player.
2023 ESPN Freshman All-American. 2023 SEC All-Freshman Team. 2023 Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year semifinalist.
Yeah, and remember, just what was it, 2 years ago, linebackers were like a black hole. You know, they were so it was. They just, the linebacker play was just abysmal.
Yes.
And of course, you had the defense coordinator want to put 4 of them out there. You didn't have any linebackers, or at least guys with linebacker instincts. And you get Torian York again. I think there's so many things about Torian York to like. But I think what I appreciate the most is just the linebacker instincts. He knows how to play linebacker.
He does.
He can step into a hole and the play ends at contact.
3rd on the team with 5 hurries and 4th with 8.5 tackles for loss.
Man, I mean, that's a productive freshman. That's a true freshman in the SEC, going out and playing like that. And basically, he's a solution. There was a problem at linebacker.
We went into that season scared.
Yeah.
Like, really scared about it.
He's the solution. That should be his nickname. Torian, the Solution York.
Can we clip that and put it on social media? Because I think it needs to take fire.
The Solution.
Now do it in like a movie phone voice.
He's the solution. I don't know.
I don't have your best for.
I don't have a great. Try to do my Dave South voice, the best it's ever been. He's the solution.
You had to say no. That was good.
Yeah, I gotta get into Dave South mode.
Well,
the solution.
There's no doubt that he was one of the best players on the team last year.
Yeah.
As a freshman, which in my opinion, I know you agree, he's going to be even better this year.
He should be. You're usually better in your second year as a starter. Look at Edge Cooper. In his second year as a starter, became an All-American.
Yeah.
You know, and look, let's be honest here. Torian benefited from having Edgerrin Cooper next to him. He has to prove that he can be as good without edge next to him.
You know
and
what,
I think
though?
he will be.
Scooby, Solomon, Damian will benefit from playing next to Torian York.
Yeah, I mean, who was it? Didn't Bateman say that it's just like, it's almost like, another coach. He knows everything that everybody's supposed to do, and then he studies the offense. He can look at, like a good middle linebacker can do. He can look at what the way the offense is aligned and have a pretty good idea what's coming, and he's the guy that's getting everybody set the way. Right. So he's not just physical, and it's not just the physical ability. He's smart. He's everything you want in a middle linebacker.
He's just a good kid.
Or an inside linebacker.
I'm sorry, it matters to me. He's a good kid. Like, he's a man. Let's be honest. But he comes across such intense but purposeful. I just like him as a human being.
Yeah.
And he represents that defense.
He's I can't find a chink in the armor with him.
Let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, I got some questions for you, OB. I'm going to throw out a couple questions for you, and you're going to tell me how you feel about it, all right?
I'll try to have some answers.
And in fact, here's where do we feel better and where are we concerned after you listen to the Luchador? Okay. If there are concerns, hold that thought. And if you want to text in on that answer, you can as well. When's the last time you went to Varsity Grill House?
It's about a month ago.
Okay, we need to probably...
Yeah, I need to get back.
We need to have a meeting.
I like that place.
I do too.
Big ass chicken fried steak.
Yeah.
And a big burger.
Yeah, big old.
That's what I had. Somebody sitting next to me had the chicken fried steak, and it was so big and it looked good. It had mashed potatoes that I found myself like ogling this guy's dinner.
Fantasizing about the mashed potatoes. I get it.
Mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Chicken fried steak. Had some gravy.
Mm-hmm.
It looked good. I mean, who doesn't like a good chicken fried steak? And yet
you
I was
to go
satisfied with my burger.
Oh, you got the burger.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
And it was a good burger.
And I feel bad because it's kind of a buddy's place, also a date place. I haven't taken Elizabeth.
I took her Irma.
Yeah?
I did. And you know what? The service was tremendous.
Yeah, food there is great at Varsity Grill House. It is right by the Academy on Highway 6 here in College Station. You need to go check it out. Varsity Grill House, your home for good times and great food. We'll see you there. It's a good song right here.
I'm trying to place it. I know I've heard it. I'm trying to think. Why don't I know?
I can help you, OB.
You know it.
What is this?
Van Halen.
Van Halen with Sam Hagar.
Sammy Hagar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's weird. I'm sorry. I don't like when bands change the head guy.
Well, they did, when the other guy leaves.
Yeah, but you got to rename it. The new Van Halen.
Yeah, but when AC/DC's lead singer died, they replaced him with Brian Johnson, and I think they got better.
It needs to be BCDC in that case. Or something. Like, you got to change it. Right? Like, you don't change a tag team in wrestling and call it the New Rockers. You don't do that.
They couldn't be
if
Michael Hayes left the Freebirds.
They're not the Freebirds anymore.
Freebirds anymore.
No, they're just the Birds. You got to change it somehow. The Killer Bees or the British Bulldogs, if Davey Boy Smith leaves,
does it have to be?
They're just the British.
Does it have to be like the lead singer, though?
I think it's the lead singer. I don't care about the others.
Okay, so the Stones, even though Charlie Watts passed away as the drummer, they can get a new drummer in their facility.
They're fine. Even though it's an integral part,
right?
It's still very important.
It's got to be the front guy.
It's got to be the main guy, right? Like, you just can't.
Yeah, they lost. See, Van Halen lost something when they lost David Lee Roth.
What was he mad about?
But he just want to go on his own.
Okay,
but AC/DC got better with Brian Johnson.
Like, I know you're a big NSYNC fan, right? When Justin Timberlake left, they're not in sync anymore. They're just synced.
I don't think they were in sync, but okay. I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble.
Then probably don't.
Even more so than usual. So let's move on.
We are TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. I asked you a question before we get to that. Young Carson Stein. This is his last week with us. He'll still be alive, but he'll be working at the Zone more often. He heard J.D. Piquel, who has been on the show several times, and he is apparently, I haven't heard the bite, smitten about the Notre Dame offense. Let's listen to what J.D. Piquel. No, we're not going to listen to it. We're not. Okay.
Well, I'll just say this.
I just want you to know that he is smitten. That's the point of this.
I have a few notes on the statement he made.
Okay,
it's just a very quick thing. He just says Notre Dame made moves to be an explosive offense. They portaled in a quarterback and 3 wide receivers, and they hired an offensive coordinator who led an elite passing attack. And when programs tell you who they want to be, believe them. So.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Look, if we got...
I just know this. There was a time last year where they were touting Sam Hartman as a Heisman guy. Right, and he put up huge numbers at Wake Forest.
Yes, he did.
And I'm not saying that
he was good.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Riley Leonard's not better than him. But do we know that? And is the guy from is it the guy from Florida International? Is that the guy that's making the passing game so much better? Because I'll say this, JD or whatever. I would just tell me why. That they're going to be better offensively without Joe Alt and
100%. And here's why I'm very optimistic for A&M this game. The couple times when the Patriots lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants.
That was because of the pass rush. Well, I covered.
And that's my point. That offensive line versus our pass rush, A&M's pass rush.
If that offensive line is as challenged as we think it might be.
But even like.
I covered the 2006 national championship game between Ohio State and Florida. Troy Smith had just won the Heisman Trophy. Yep. All this big. They had Ted Ginn. Explosive. Florida won that game. You can go back and look at it. Florida won that game because the pass rush was on Troy Smith from jump. I mean, he couldn't do any. I think he threw for like 60 yards because he was just always under pressure. If A&M can get a consistent pass rush, then I hope they're going to throw a lot.
So here's kind of how I look at it. I believe even against an elite offensive line, A&M's pass rush will still be pretty darn good.
Okay.
Now you give me we're
going to find out against LSU.
Yeah, but I think they'll be pretty good.
Okay.
I'm not saying they're going to get.
You're going to win yours. You're going to lose yours.
Right. Against a first run offensive line with a bunch of guys who have never started before, I take Nick Scorton, Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, and the whole gang, DJ Hicks, whoever's out there, Rodis Johnson, you name it, I'm going to take our guys against a makeshift offensive line. Now, they may end up being fantastic because Notre Dame has recruited great offensive linemen throughout the years. But as of today, I think if there's the game was going to, let me ask you this, though, because the line moved. It went from apparently 1.5 to 2.5 over the last week. Okay?
Right.
If Notre Dame was getting elite offensive line play, that were the reports out from camp, would that move back to a 1.5? Would it be maybe Notre Dame by 1.5 in that situation?
I think, probably if they were getting elite offense. I think what happened was they're reacting to the news that they might start a true freshman, and maybe he'll be great. I don't know, but last year Notre Dame gave up 16 sacks, which is a great total. But they had the best offensive tackle in the country on one side and a second-round draft choice on the other.
How many elite defenses did they go against?
Not many.
That plays a part too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So who's the company you keep? So look, I'm not being overconfident. I think A&M is going to win the game. I think it's going to be a really close game. If that's not a disparaging Notre Dame, I think they're going to be a pretty good team. But I just like that matchup for A&M. Yeah. They have a good matchup too. They have a favorable matchup with their defensive line against A&M's offensive line. But I think it's a greater advantage that A&M has.
Peruta and College Station. So when Steve Perry left Journey, they became Trip.
Yeah. Well, I thought that just became irrelevant.
No, Liucci's got to go watch them perform. Apparently, they're just as good or better.
You know what? Styx got better when they got rid of Dennis DeYoung.
Yeah,
as their lead singer.
I remember Rodney
because they were a rock and roll band. And he came in and tried to, they became
the Hogan family. When Valerie left, did they get better?
Hulk. No, who was Valerie?
You never watched the show Valerie?
No.
Okay.
Is that a TV? I thought are you talking about Hulk?
When Teen Wolf went from Michael J. Fox to Jason Bateman, did it get better?
Did it? I'll take your.
You never watched Teen Wolf? Teen Wolf 2? TOO?
Never saw it.
I don't know what's another one like that. Got to be another movie like that.
Well, I'll go all the way back to Bewitched, the TV show.
Darren.
They had two Darrens.
Thoughts and prayers. Yeah.
And they both had the same first name. There was Dick York and Dick Sargent.
You can't have. Never mind. Heritage Films time. Chance McClain's company. They make documentary films about family businesses and family ranches. It's the place or it's the guy to call to get your family story done the right way. 2-hour documentary, 8 to 10 weeks to get it done. Those are the particulars. But I want you to think about like cool events that you guys have, right? So if let's say you called Chance up a couple weeks ago and you said, hey, I want you to come do our tailgate. I'm going to have my granddad there. I'm going to have my kids there. We're going to go tailgate right before the Notre Dame game. It's going to be awesome. I want you, because this is what we do. Every year we come to the home opener and we want to capture this particular one. Let Chance be an eye in the sky and tell that story. Maybe it's a family business story, how your family business got started. Maybe your family ranch. Whatever it may be, Chance can tell that story in a 2-hour documentary film that looks like you're watching something on Netflix or beyond, right? They are just so good at what they do. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. Yourheritagefilm.com. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. So when Hilary Swank replaced Ralph Macchio as the Karate Kid, did the series go down?
Hilary Swank?
Yeah, she was the Karate Kid in one of the movies. Believe it or not. Great actress, by the way.
Yeah, she's really good. $1 Million Baby.
Yeah.
Great movie. Great Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I never saw that.
Did you see the Karate Kid, though?
Yeah.
When Jackie
With
Chan
Arnold?
replaced Pat Morita, what did that do for the other Karate Kid? Did you know that happened? And Jaden Smith replaced Ralph Macchio?
No, I don't. I know Ralph Macchio's still trying to, make money off Karate Kid. Now they got
That show, everybody. Cobra Kai is a pretty good show. I only watched the first couple seasons, but
Cobra Kai.
You watch it?
Actually, I was watching it, and then it just was getting too ridiculous.
When they had the school fight scene, I was out. I backed out.
It's getting too ridiculous.
TexAgs Radio, presented by David Garner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, I asked you, but we didn't really get to it, so I'll ask you here. Where do we feel better after listening to The Luchador, which I highly recommend everybody check out? Where do we feel better A&M-wise based on some of the intel we got?
What I was hearing, I was feeling good, much better about the offensive line. I mean, he's saying Reed Adams is going to play in the NFL, and that there's.
I think Trey Soon will too.
The depth was looking good, and how much better Chase Basantes is, and so much stronger than some of the other guys are, and it just sounded like he thinks it's going to be not just a serviceable offensive line, but a good offensive line. So I heard Billy saying those things, and I was saying, man, if that's true, then one of the biggest concerns I would has been somewhat alleviated.
I also felt better about wide receiver. I don't want to say I feel great, but I feel better.
Yeah, to me, wide receivers just, we've talked about it so much, I can see how it could be good because I've seen those guys be good, but I've only seen them be good in moments.
Right.
So there's obviously the ability for Moose Muhammad to make big plays. There's ability that Ja'Day Walker makes big plays. There's this ability of Noah Thomas. But who's been really good over a long course of those three I just mentioned, the guy who's had the best season as far
Ja'Day Walker.
is Ja'Day Walker.
But the addition of Cyrus Allen.
And Cyrus Allen looks good in practice.
And the addition of Jabri Barber at some point.
At some point,
Right? I can't count on him yet, but at some point. And potentially Terry Bussey.
And Micah Tease.
Micah Tease.
Tease.
Maybe he's not going to be a tease. Maybe we'll see him soon.
Maybe it's going to be Micah Please.
Micah Please.
Please. In fact, as in, I am pleased by his performance.
Yeah. Is there an area that we talked about wide receiver. Is there another area you might be concerned about at this moment, though?
I mean, I feel really good about corners, and I know they're going to be good at safeties. I know they're going to be good at linebacker. I guess I'm a little concerned with the guy opposite of York until I actually see it.
Right.
And I know they're going to be good at tight end, maybe. You typically group that with receivers, but tight end, is Trey Watson going to be the answer? Is Theo going to
emerge?
Is he going to finally emerge?
If he emerges, watch out.
I'm going to hold my breath with the running backs, but only because of the depth there.
Right.
No, I feel pretty good about this team. I've said it before. I believe, and I'm not always right, but I believe that if the offensive line grades a B and the receivers grade a B, then you're going to win 10 games.
All right. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because John Rothstein has, I think, breaking news. Let's go to it.
Yeah.
Callie?
Dun, dun, dun.
He reports that A&M will host Texas on Saturday, January 4th, which will be the first day of SEC League play during the 2024-25 basketball season.
Men's basketball.
Men's basketball. Which is a very interesting day considering that's still winter break for A&M. But
I think do they usually start? I guess they usually start around the 8th or 10th, right? Don't they? It's around there.
I remember going back like
20th.
Like the 10th.
Is it even that deeper?
Later, but
no, for basketball.
I guarantee.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, for basketball, yes, but I'm just saying the students won't be here.
I learned like in '93, students here or not, you put Texas against A&M here.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a full house.
Yeah, it will be. People on the YouTube page, there's been at least 3 or 4 people asking if I've heard anything about Power coming back to A&M. I have not heard anything about
There's been some speculation.
But I haven't heard it.
Right. I don't know that to be true. Don't care.
That's a jam, bro. It's like, that's a jam.
All right.
Doesn't it, like, every time it comes on and I see the players walking on, like, you don't get, like, goosebumps?
No. I just say, okay. I get goosebumps when the guy runs Reveille across the field.
Yeah, I mean, that too. But Power, it just hits the chord. It hits right.
All right. I like Reveille.
Richter says, please no to Power.
That's why they make chocolate and vanilla.
Yeah.
You know, people have different opinions.
I'm not a chocolate guy.
Yeah, I can see that.
What are you looking at?
Because you're so fit. You know, you're not.
I've had vanilla before.
Yeah.
I've had ice cream in the last 30 days.
I like chocolate ribbon. The vanilla and the chocolate mix. That's what I like.
A swirl?
That's heck yeah. That's what I like.
What about sherbet?
Yeah, I like sherbet.
Okay. Caramel?
Yeah, I love it.
Caramel's good.
I know.
I'm team caramel.
Yeah.
Obi, thank you.
You bet.
When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, Charean Williams. Got to ask about Ryan Tannehill. Got to ask about Mike Evans. Got to ask about Anaya Smith. And I got to ask about, well, you'll have to wait
Myles
here.
Garrett?
I got to ask about him, too. Billy just tweeted about him. It's TexAgs. Or retweeted. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Looking forward to chatting with Charean Williams of Pro Football Talk here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Charean, good morning. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys doing today?
Great. We actually got some football this weekend, and we got Aggie football not that far away.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? Once it starts rolling, it starts rolling. And I've said before, I think I told you guys, this is my least favorite month because you got all these preseason games and training camp, and you're anticipating and building, and you're just like, okay, let's just get this over with and get to the games. Well, we're almost there. So this is starting to get a little bit exciting that we're almost there. We've already had our last Saturday without college football until the end of January. So we're going to go 5 months now. Every Saturday we're going to have football. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Charean, I got some NFL stuff to get to with you. But before that, let's talk a little Aggie football. So I keep reading and hearing commentary on the Notre Dame offensive line being decimated and having you guys playing in positions, not only because of injury, but some dudes went to the NFL. So I say that, am I reading too much into this matchup with the A&M defensive line of what I think they'll be, and the Notre Dame offensive line being, lack of experience, I should say?
No, I don't think so. And I think that's where we have a chance to win the game because I think this defensive line could dominate that offensive line. I think it's good from that standpoint. We're playing them week one, that this defensive line can just get off and dominate that building offensive line because they're certainly going to be better by the end of the year than they are in the first game. So I think this is good for A&M. The heat factor is going to play a part. Make no mistake about that. And I saw the other day when at game time it was 70 some odd degrees in Notre Dame. You can't replicate the heat. You just can't. And they're going to get out there and they're not going to be ready. There's no way to be ready for it. It's impossible to be ready for the heat. So I think that's going to play a factor too. So to me, A&M's two best chances to win that game, or as we mentioned, is our defensive line against their rebuilding offensive line, and then the heat factor that's going to play into this game. And I think both those we just have a huge advantage. So when you start marking down all those reasons to list A&M to win, to me those are two really big ones.
Charean, if I tell you that Connor Wigman's going to be a top 5 SEC quarterback, which he may already be there in your eyes, but if I say at the end of the year that's how we're going to look at him, what would that do for your season predictions?
They're already pretty high, but I think if he does that, if he does what you expect him to do and becomes a first-round draft pick, which the NFL guys know he can do if he stays on the field. I mean, it's been availability has been the problem with him, but if he stays on the field, he can turn himself into a top 5, even higher than that, probably quarterback and a first-round draft pick. Huge year for him, absolutely huge. For what he can accomplish, the things he can accomplish for A&M and the things he can accomplish for himself heading to the NFL, and the difference in money that's going to be there if you're a first-round pick and if you're not a first-round pick. So all those things are just a big year for him. But if he does that, I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if they go 10-2 or somewhere in that range, maybe better. It always comes down to the quarterback, always. Your defense can keep you in games, and I think that's what A&M's defense is going to do this year. I think it's going to be back to the wrecking crew. I think the defense is going to keep A&M in games, but it's still going to be up to Connor Wegman to be able to win games. And it's going to be up to him, another fluke injury, so that's not technically correct, but staying on the field. I mean, that's just been the biggest thing is the availability. So staying healthy is the key for him and not taking those he hits when he doesn't have to, and hopefully the offensive line is better. We still don't know for sure, but hopefully the offensive line is better. It can't be much worse to protect him.
Charean, last year A&M had 42 sacks, which was pretty good in college football. If I were to tell you that you're going to get 24 sacks from the Shamars and Nick Scorton, all right? What does that tell you about that defense? Because, by the way, just to give you a little clarity, last year, Edgerrin Cooper led the team with 8. Shamar Turner had 4, Walter Nolan had 4, and Fidel Diggs had 4.
I'm going to be very surprised if this defense doesn't have a double-digit sack leader. I'm going to be shocked. I mean, Nick had, 10 last year at Purdue. So I expect some double-digit sack at least one, maybe two of those guys to have double digits. And I just think it's that 42 number is going to go up. I think this is going to be a historic defensive line. And we've had some great defensive line when you go back and think about when Miles was here and, Vaughn before him and all of those edge rushers that we've had in our history. I just think this is along those lines of some of those historic defenses that we've had, and it's going to get back to those wrecking crew days. So I think that sack number is going to go up, and I think we're going to have a lot of guys with sacks, but those two guys in particular are going to have a ton of sacks, probably both double digits.
Will you be surprised if Le'Veon Moss goes for over 1,000 yards?
Yes, probably, simply because I think it's going to be more of a passing offense than a running offense. But, you never know. You have games. You think back to a couple years ago when Devon A-Chain did what he did against LSU. Like, nobody predicted that, for him to get that many carries, and some games just dictate that you're going to have to run the ball, and that would lead to more yards. But, I think it's going to be more of a running back by committee. I would think he's going to be the lead back, obviously, with what happened to Reuben. But, I'd be surprised if he went over 1,000 yards.
Talking to Charean Williams, Pro Football Talk, and, of course, our Aggie Hall of Famer here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. What's the latest with Ryan Tannehill? What's going to happen with him?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because he hasn't signed with anybody. He's had opportunities to do that, but I think he's sort of in a situation where he waits to see, what the best opportunity is for him. There are teams out there right now that could use Ryan Tannehill. The Raiders don't have a starting quarterback. I mean, they just named Gardner Minshew the starter, and he looked terrible against the Cowboys backups. I know he went to the Pro Bowl last year, but he looked terrible against the Cowboys backups the other night. And he didn't have all his starters with him. He didn't have Devontae Adams. I get all that. But, the Raiders certainly should consider at least, they won't, but I'm saying they should. But teams that are lacking a backup quarterback right now, to me, the Chargers make a ton of sense because they've seen their backups with Justin Herbert out with foot injury. And by the way, the foot injury is going to go on all year long. They need a better backup. They're going to look for a better backup. Ryan Tannehill is that guy out there that could be the better backup for them, who started and played for what they think, could be a more successful season than what they had last year. The Giants, Daniel Jones hasn't looked good. He didn't look good against the Texans. That, to me, would be a team that with Sam Howell as your backup, you'd want a better backup, and Ryan Tannehill sitting there. Now, the thing is, the teams are probably at this point going to wait until after week one. The reason is, if you wait until after week one, the salary is not guaranteed for a vested veteran. He's a vested veteran. So if they sign him now, his money is fully guaranteed for whatever he signs for. If he signs after week one, the money is not fully guaranteed. So I imagine that most teams are going to wait until after week one. But he also could decide to wait until a contender has a big injury, like we saw in Cleveland last year. And Joe Flacco signed with the Browns really late in the season, led them to the playoffs, and now look where he is. So, he could be looking at something like that for himself, but I do think he's going to have opportunities after week one, if not before.
Charean, I was reading Aggie's Wire this morning, and they had this note with 1,320 yards this year. Mike Evans would become the sixth player in NFL history to rack up at least 13,000 yards in his first 11 seasons. The other 5 are Hall of Famers and one who's about to be a Hall of Famer. Just rare air and very believable air for him.
Yeah, it really is for anybody who watched him play game after game after game. It's funny to say this based on the numbers you threw out and the numbers we know he's had, the consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Every season he's had at least 1,000 yards, all those things. But I do think he's one of the more underrated players in the NFL since he's been in the NFL. When you look at All-Pros, he's never been an All-Pro. No one ever considers Mike Evans one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL, and that he's always on the field. Talks about availability. He's always there. He's always catching passes. He's always catching touchdowns. 1,000 yards every single year. Look at those touchdowns, how many touchdowns he has in his career. It's a pretty remarkable career, and I do think he's going to make the Hall of Fame. You start looking when you're in the room, some things you look for is all-decade team, all-pros. In other words, where did he rank with guys that he played with? And he's not going to have those things. But I still think he's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame because just when you look at the numbers, and I know the numbers have changed for receivers, but they're remarkable with what he's. Nobody in NFL history has started a career with as many 1,000-yard seasons as he's had. And it's just he keeps going and going and going. And with different quarterbacks, by the way. Tom Brady's really the one really good guy that he's had as a quarterback. And I know his connection right now with Baker Mayfield is great. I expect him to have a huge season this season. It may be his best season this season. He just seems to be getting better with age. But I do think he's headed toward the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Another one that will be headed, I think, to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Myles Garrett will join the great Lawrence Taylor if he gets 12 sacks this season. Players in NFL history to do so in 5 straight seasons.
Yeah, he's another one that's just had a remarkable start to his career. It's been incredible to watch. And again, another one I don't think any of us are surprised that he's done what he's done in the NFL. It's hard to believe for me that he's played as long as he has. I mean, yesterday he was playing for A&M, and now here he is, has played a while. So I look for Myles to do Myles-like things this season. He was Defensive Player of the Year last year. He's going to try to do that again this year. I'm really looking forward to that Week 1 matchup with the Cowboys going against the rookie left tackle and Tyler Guyton. And they do move Myles around a lot, so he's going to get probably both sides. But Tyler Guyton looked really good against Max Crosby and the little time he had out there, and he looked really good in the game the other night against whoever the Raiders put out there. But it's not Myles Garrett. Max Crosby is great. He's a terrific Pro Bowl defensive lineman. They did double him and chip him and do some other things with him. But I'm interested to see how they're going to handle Myles Garrett and what Myles Garrett's going to do. I'm going to be surprised if he doesn't have a couple sacks. It's a surprise. I'm probably disappointed if he doesn't have a couple sacks in that game, but it's going to be a really interesting matchup against the rookie Tyler Guyton.
How about Ainias Smith, that first catch, the 2-point conversion?
Yeah. Yes, terrific catch by Ainias, and hopefully they find some ways to use him, some creative ways. I know he'll be a punt returner, but I hope they also give him opportunity on kickoffs with the new kickoff rule and find some creative ways to use him, because I think you can do with him some things that the 49ers have done with Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and using him in multiple ways, and the way A&M, frankly, used him in multiple ways. I think they did a good job of using Ainias, and so I would love to see the Eagles do that. We'll see if Kellen Moore works that in. He did that some with Cavante Turpin when he had Cavante, but Ainias is a better position player, I think, than Cavante Turpin is. So I hope they use him in those ways. I hope they give him some opportunities besides just in the return game, because I do think he'll be their punt returner this year.
How about DeMarvin Leal? How are things looking for him?
Yeah, great. He's taken a step up in Pittsburgh, and I watched him the other night and really playing better, more confident. It's taken him a couple years to figure it out, but I think he's now figured out things, and I think he's starting to get it. And they expect him to play some significant snaps for them. So he's got to take advantage of that, and I think he will now. I just think he's playing with more confidence in what he's doing, and it feels comfortable there in Pittsburgh. So hopefully he has a big year.
Talking to Charean Williams here on TexAgs Radio on the Boss Firearms Hotline. I got to ask you about the TUE comments, because he doesn't typically talk like this, but I forget the exact term, but when talking about Brian Flores, he called him like a terrible person. Am I remembering that correctly?
Terrible person. Yep, you are. Terrible person, and said he really, broke down his confidence and ripped him every day. And it's going to be interesting because Brian Flores is going to have to talk probably this week, maybe, if not this week, next week. He'll have to talk sometime in the next 2 weeks by rule, by media access policy. He'll have to talk, and he'll be asked all those questions, probably be asked more of those questions about TUE. And I expect that he's not going to say a whole lot other than, they had what he thought was a good relationship, and he did his best for TUE. I expect that's what he'll say, but he is going to be asked those questions. But yeah, TUE just teed off on Brian Flores, and something that you don't see by any NFL player very often. And it was out of the ordinary, certainly with his comments.
Does he have a good reputation, Brian Flores? I know he was involved in obviously some interesting situations, but just his reputation overall as a coach and a leader of young men.
Well, I think he's tough, and it's probably his leadership is probably not for everybody, but I don't know that anybody's leadership is for everybody. In college, well, in the pros too, in college you try to bring in the guys who fit you, and in the NFL you kind of try to draft those guys. But when you become a head coach of a team, it's not guys that you drafted and you brought in, all 53 necessarily. So it's not always the guys you wanted. And if you're the coach and not the GM, then the GM's maybe drafting players that you don't want. So his leadership style is certainly not for everybody. The way he motivates guys and leads guys, it's more of the from what I've heard, the negative sort of what TUE said, sort of the negativity of it. Trying to get you to get mad and get better, and so that just doesn't work for everybody. And I do think there's different leadership styles for different people, and the really, really good leaders can do it both ways. They know how to motivate. They know what motivates a guy and is able to use that to motivate that guy. So in other words, you and I are motivated differently. I may want the negative stuff. I may want, you suck, you need to go improve, and you may want, hey, come on, here's what you need to do. You got this in you. Let's go. Now you can do this, type thing. So two different leadership styles, and the really good leaders are able to do multiple leadership styles with different players.
Charean, I want to close out with Brandon Aubrey. 66-yarder. That won't count in the record books, but it counts in our hearts. Talk about that kick.
Pretty incredible, his leg. I mean, yeah, it would have been good in a next-gen stats, which is the NFL's stats package, says it was good, estimates that it was good from 72 yards. So he may have the NFL record at some point. Now, the opportunities to kick those kicks don't come along very often. It has to really be a special thing. In other words, that one was at the end of the half. So it's into the half, into the game when trying to win the game, and that's your last gasp. And a lot of coaches aren't even going to let you try to kick that. They're going to try to throw the ball into the end zone and see if they can get a Hail Mary. They like their chances better. But I think with what he showed, if the Cowboys get in that situation and they need a 70-yard field goal to win the game, I think they're going to give him that opportunity to kick it. So we'll see if that opportunity ever comes along for him. Special for Justin Tucker, it came at the end of a 2021 game against the Lions, and it was the last play, and they knew he had the leg for it, and that was their best opportunity. So Ravens let him kick it, and he made it. So it was a fantastic kick, right down the middle. You couldn't ask for anything more. And on grass, indoors, all those things, but he hit it really well. Missed a 65-yarder short the week before, but made that one, and it's obvious he can do it. It's obvious he can make it from 70. We know Justin Tucker can make it from 70, and now it's just seeing somebody get that opportunity to have that kick because we know they can make it.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Charean. I appreciate your work.
Thank you, David.
So yeah, Charean Williams there on the on the Boss Firearms hotline. She is a pro and works at Pro Football Talk. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Jamie Morrison, talk about the Maroon White experience over the weekend. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. My wife is actually going to have some service done this week. They have a decent selection of commercial vehicles right now, a really good selection of commercial vehicles, service body trucks. You got flatbed trucks. You got several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. They are locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni. They love taking care of their customers, and they are the place to go to when you're looking to buy a vehicle. If you're looking for a trade-in, they've got the best trade-in value. If you're just looking to see what they have, you can go online and check out all the great selection that they have. But here's a cool thing that they do for their customers, right? Free oil changes for life on your purchase as long as you own the vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They have a strong, committed sales staff with many years of experience satisfying customer needs, and they are the premier dealer for commercial vehicles and all of your small business needs. Also, they have a huge inventory that'll fit all of your needs. They want to make long-lasting relationships with customers. They're just south of big city prices, and they promise to treat their customers like family. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. I doubt you know this song, Jamie. Well, maybe, no, I take it back.
I don't have a headphone.
I know. Top Straw, Fat Pat. Are you familiar?
Oh, yeah,
okay.
I do. Yeah.
All right, good. I shouldn't have doubted you.
I know.
Jamie Morrison in the house here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. How was the weekend?
That was great.
Yeah.
We got to play a little volleyball. We got to give the girls a couple days off. That doesn't happen very much in the
Right.
volleyball season. We're actually trying to do it more this year. Just trying to give some mental breaks and keep them a little bit fresh as the season goes on. So, we had a Maroon White. I was really fired up with, I don't know, things that happen. I think you throw everybody in a uniform and you throw 1,000 people in the stands. And, man, the 12th man again, I said it afterwards, but we're playing, I don't know, a scrimmage, and we have near 1,000 people show up and interested in what we're doing. And I'll continue to say it. Just I'm extremely grateful for that. For the people that do show up. But first set, you throw a uniform on, we had some jitters, and it was nice. I thought we got those out very, very quickly. In the second set, it was just 5 more sets of amazing volleyball. And I told our girls afterwards, I can't wait to show us off to the world, that we get to go do it slightly for real this weekend, and then for real next weekend.
It's soon. I'm going to give you a compliment, and hopefully you don't take it as a criticism of volleyball. I think volleyball's cool. You make volleyball even more cool.
Oh man, no,
because I think there's and Callie's going to back me up on this. I think there's like an excitement level since you joined the program, and then you lived up to that, and the players are fun. Like there's a lot going on around the program.
Cool. I think one of the biggest compliments, we talk a lot about alignment in our program, that you show up as the person you say you're going to show up as. So that is a huge compliment, and I think I've gotten that across the board from administration and things along those lines too, of the people that I hire, the players that I brought in. Like I've stayed true to the things that I said I was going to do. So thank you.
How hard is that too, though? Because you have your vision, but it takes time for things to and I feel like we didn't see where it maybe took some time, but the results followed what you were talking about doing.
They are, and just I talk to people in the volleyball community, and like people laugh. They're like, "Yeah, patience is not your virtue." When I have my, I don't know, ideas set on something and intent on this is the vision of what this is going to be, I push and go. And when I got hired, that's exactly what I said. Actually, I think being with the national team creates a different motor. Just in terms of, I don't know, scouting, when you look at that, most people prepare for 1, maybe 2 teams a week. And when you're with the national team, you have to prepare for 1 team a night. Right. It's 5 nights in a row, and it just creates this motor in you that you got to go, and you have to get it to this point, because there's this 4-year ending spot where it's the Olympics. And I talked about that when I interviewed here. I think it creates a different motor. So I am understanding that it takes time. I am understanding that pieces of it will take time, but I think there's pieces that can happen now, and that's what we've gone about doing, is figuring out what we could change that would make the largest impact in year 1 and year 2, and keep going throughout this.
How hard is it to gauge how well you do through different lenses? Obviously, you want to win the national championship, you want to get so far, and you have all these goals. Mm-hmm. But also each season has its own challenge.
Yep. I think the one thing that I learned, there's a guy named Julio Velasco who actually just was a men's coach and then took over the Italian women's team and won a gold medal. So apparently he's pretty good, and he's a good person for me to listen to. But he just talked about whenever he has a team, he creates a movie in his head of what is capable for that team. So the way they need to play volleyball, the way that they, I don't know, need to interact as a team. And then he goes about trying to change one thing to get to that every single day. And that was huge in my mind, of like, every team is a unique setup of personalities, but also the ability to play volleyball in some different ways. And there's going to be a different movie every single year. So trying to figure out what that movie is, and then figure out what's the biggest, I don't know, chunk that I can bite off today and move towards that. And I think that's for the program too, of this is what I could envision this program being, and what's the most important piece that I need to do now to get it there, and trying to combine those two things. And unfortunately, there's only 24 hours in a day, but that's the way we work.
I wrote this down because I'm going to use it in our department here, just every day having a particular goal to get better. So it almost gets real this weekend. Let's talk about taking on Baylor.
Yeah, we head up to Baylor, and we've had a nice home and away every single year, where we just kind of bounce back and forth, who goes where in the spring and who goes where in the fall. And rankings came out. I don't believe in those, but I think they're ranked somewhere in there. And they're a good volleyball team. They run fast, and they do some things that'll be able to test us. And we talked about it after the Maroon and White, just that it's, I don't know, you play a game and you're like, you did really well in this offensive category. You're like, well, were we just bad on the block and D side, or were we that good on the offensive side? And I say it all the time. I think the thing that I love about sport is it's you win or you lose. And it's not, I don't know, this is going okay, and we get a chance to test ourselves every single week. And it's awesome to be able to do it without it going in the win and loss column, to probably play around a little bit with lineups and be able to see what we look like versus somebody else.
Isn't that the interesting part too? That like in an exhibition where the results don't matter, you want to win, obviously. but you can also experiment a little bit and maybe some places that you wouldn't normally experiment.
Yeah, and again, you get to see what it looks like and how people respond to somebody in a different colored uniform, and I think that's what these should be about. And obviously, you want to win. I'm competitive, and we lost to them last year. I can't remember, it was in 4 or 5, and I was like, I thought I'd be fine afterwards, and I wasn't. Right. We're all competitive, but it is the one time you get a chance to test things and get some people some experience when you wouldn't normally get that during the season.
One of the quotes you had after the game was, I thought we were probably 2 or 3 wins better than our record last year. How close are you all to getting those games that are so tight?
I think good. I think one of the things I learned about me personally is just, it was my first college season in a really long time, and my first as a head coach. And I had people, as we were entering this, tell me October's hard. October's the time where you need to save up some energy in order to make sure you push through that, because I think that's when teams are great, is when in the middle of a season they're, handling hard better than the other 14 people, I think, right now, 15 next year in the conference. So for me personally, there was that piece, and then you need to stay unified. And I think we have a group that genuinely likes to work, likes to be around each other, and I'm expecting great things this season.
Yeah, I'm expecting as well. One of the other things you talked about was having players who can play multiple positions. How much better off are you with the versatility?
Yeah, I think we're deep right now. I think when you get deep, it's one of those things you're always searching for, and then you get there, you're like, oh no, I have some tough decisions to make. But those are positive things that I think everyone in the program is developing as a human and a volleyball player, and is starting to push everybody as we get better in this. And that's how teams get great, is when iron sharpens iron every single day at practice. And I would love to get to the point where practice is the most exciting part of our week, that's the best volleyball we're playing as the week goes on, and that will come.
How about Afena's growth?
Yeah. I think came in, and it was interesting because I went back to the year prior's video at some point to look at some development stuff in terms of another position, and I saw her hit a ball and the arm wasn't there, and I'm like, man, she's hitting the ball harder, and she's becoming an elite blocker, and having some conversations there about not just the stats that show up in the stat column that you see, but the stat column that we see, and ability to read is probably the area that we're going to grow this year. And be able to kind of be everywhere and get some positive touches every single time to make her truly the best blocker in the country.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I am so excited about just seeing what a second year of your program looks like just the not just the physical growth, the mental growth.
Yeah, and I think, I'll say this, I've said it on the air before, I think just what other coaches have done in their second year right now is spur me on. And I said it from the beginning of the season, I don't think we're there yet, maybe we are. But everyone says it takes time, and we talked about, patience, not a virtue. I looked at LSU basketball winning a national championship on the women's side in their second year. I'm like, it's possible.
Why not?
Volleyball is a little bit harder because the recruiting cycle is different, but I think you can push programs places faster now than you probably could 10 years ago. So, and then I look at on campus and what softball did in year 2, and what all of these other coaches are doing. And again, I'm fired up for what's happening, and I feel like I need to keep pace with that. So I'm excited for what's coming.
Last thing for you, tell me the schedule. So you obviously got the scrimmage with Baylor, the exhibition. What's kind of before we get to South Alabama?
We come back, give the girls a day off, and again, going back to that October thing, I'm really focused on energy this year and balancing that idea of, pushing to get better, and also making sure that we're saving some of the emotional and physical energy tanks to make sure we're good later on down the year. So day off and then get better. And I think the one thing I also learned last year is we did a really good job of kind of prepping the beginning of the season. We've done it this year also, of playing really good volleyball.
Right.
Of trying to cycle through the same practice schedule a little bit and make sure the things that made us good at the beginning of the year we're continuing to do as the year goes on. So we'll get to work on kind of that cycle as we get back into practice.
Awesome stuff, Jamie. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you. And by the way, your favorite spot's here.
I know, it's back.
Your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. We're talking about Aggieland Express Car Wash. They have two locations now. You have the original on William D. Fitch and the brand new location, 2528 Texas Avenue South in College Station, across from the Planet Fitness. Obviously, you can wash your own car when you go there. They have all the stuff for you. But if you go to the one on South Texas, it's the newest full-service wash in town. You have all the team take care of everything, the cleaning, the drying, the vacuuming, the Armor All interior. And for a limited time, they're giving you a special price. You can have that option for half its price. So it's usually $40. They'll give it to you for $20. Just say TexAgs sent you by. And we're going to give one free one away right now. The first person to call 979-693-1150 is going to get themselves a free car wash from Aggieland Express Car Wash on Texas Avenue. You got to go to the Texas Avenue for this one. Give us a call right now, 979-693-1150. We are back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Damontre Moore, it's been like a year since my friend's been on the show. We've been going back and forth on text forever. Damontre, good morning, buddy. How you been?
Good morning, man. Thanks for having me. Hey, like you said, long time coming. It's been too long, but hey, it's bittersweet. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man. We actually spoke on the phone a couple of weeks ago, but we just haven't put you on the show in a bit. Let's first off, what's like I don't ever know what's going on with you, man. One day you're in Canada, one day you're doing the show from Dallas. Where are you right now?
Currently I'm in Dallas. I'm a free agent. This is my 12th year playing professional football, and currently I'm just waiting to get a call, and we'll see where the chips may fall. But like my dad always told me back in the day, can't be a one-trick pony. So trying to be like you, man, and get my Barry White on with this amazing voice, and then look the part and be on TV and giving some great takes on some hot football right now.
Dude, I think you could do our rejoiners like "Welcome back to TexAgs" with David Nuño. Can you try that? Just try "Welcome back to TexAgs."
Welcome back to TexAgs with David Nuño.
Holy smokes. We're going to have to get you in studio and record all this. That was great.
Let's do it, man. Hey, whenever. The more you can do.
Hey, let's talk about this new season because, I feel like there was this up and up with Kevin, with Summy, up and up with Jimbo, and then both had this downward trend that we got to see, unfortunately, too often. So now, after having several coaches just not reach the level that we expected, Damontre, what is your excitement level for Texas A&M football this year under Mike Elko?
First off, that's a phenomenal question.
Yes.
As far as my excitement level, let me apologize to the fans. I know I keep adjusting the camera because I talk with my hands, but the excitement level, I said I was excited for Jimbo because he was the big name and stuff like that, and we have to say certain things. And Jimbo was a phenomenal coach within himself. Coach Sumlin was a big name coming out at that time, being the hot guy, having ties to A&M through Larry Jackson. But with this guy right here, I am truly ecstatic about. And the reason that I'm ecstatic about Coach Elko, for the first time in a long time, we have a defensive-minded head coach. A&M is known for the wrecking crew. So for a defensive school to have a defensive-minded head coach, and not only that, the stuff that's coming out about from the former players of how he's developed them, and he's a great person. And even my time this past spring going down there to a couple practices and just interacting with him, the thing that makes me most excited and gives him that X factor and why I think he's going to be our guy, he gives me Mike Sherman vibes. He really cares about the players and developing them. And all the best coaches that I have been around, Pete Carroll, Tom Coughlin, those guys, they really got to know their players. When Tom Coughlin made that change in his career, Strahan told him, you got to learn the players, and this is what's going to work, and making that adjustment. And with Elko, he knows his players. He's talked to them, and it's evident, it's so present. And I am so excited for it. I know that was a loquacious answer for that one, but that's how excited I am about Elko, because that time and that detail that I explained with him, that he has that same tenacity with his players.
Loquacious, best word of the day. No doubt that you already get the award. Hey, I want to ask you about Coughlin because that had to be an adjustment, right? Like your relationship with Tom. He's like, once you figure it out, he's your guy, right? But it seems like it's hard to get on that page.
It is so hard to get on that page with Tom Coughlin, and he's a great guy. And I would say Coach Sherman made me prepare for him. When I first got to A&M in my tenure there, Coach Sherman, he liked me. I made plays, but also I didn't know if he liked me until my junior year. And he was like, Damontre, I've always liked you, but there's a certain thing. There's a business and a certain professionalism that you have to have in this game, and he prepared me for it. And when I got in his inner circle with Coughlin, when I first got there, we bumped heads, and I was like, man, but I found myself reaching out to him a few years ago and just texting him and telling him thank you, because he prepared me for the league, and I see what he wanted. It's just a certain direction and a certain level of strictness that you have to apply by, and it's zero tolerance. So if you learn it, he's going to be your best friend. If you don't, hey, he's your worst enemy, and those are the guys that make the best people to have.
Damontre, what are your biggest areas of concern, or were they maybe entering fall camp? And as you've read and caught up, are any of those thoughts alleviated?
That is a great question. My biggest area of concerns were two things: our secondary play and our offensive line play. 1 and 2, 1A and 1B, really. And when I say 1A will be the offensive line play is the most important thing in my opinion. But as far as the defensive play, what they say, you start with the good before you go with the negative. I have been alleviated with the defensive play because we had a lot of young guys back there. They've shown time and time again that they can make the big plays with the pick six and making those plays in coverage. But when it came down to the long stretches, when we played the LSUs and the Alabama, for some reason we kept losing the deep balls, or that young, I would say, inexperience helped them be out of position for whatever reason. But I think with time, growth, and them being in the system, on top of that, with the transfers that we got in, and then with Mike Elko coming in being a defensive-minded head coach, he's hands-on with this stuff. Like, he has to run the whole organization, but that defense is his baby. So I have been alleviated from there, and I'm not too concerned. I'm actually really ecstatic to see what they're going to do, because with that defensive line that we have over there, it's going to be like catching butter, baby. You just got to sit back there and just let it come to you. Let it fall in your hands. Now, with the offensive line play, that has been my area of concern, because it's been a turning stock day in and day out for the last few years. And with that being said, we know that A&M quarterback room is deep. And the reason that we know that is a bad reason, because multiple times people have been hurt, from our starting quarterback to the second string to the third string. There's no reason we should be on our fourth string quarterback and realizing how good they are. So with that being said, those guys coming in, and then there's no reason why our most hated offensive lineman at one point in time is the starting offensive lineman at the Saints right now, one of the highest paid over there, and earned their starting position. So you kind of have to ask yourself, was it the coaching? And now we're having a new system coming in, guys like Colin that comes in, that's a former player as a QB, he can address those areas of concern. So I'm excited to see, but I'm very nervous, and we're just going to have to see once the season get here if the answers, or if those questions have been answered.
Connor Wigman has a swag to him when he's at quarterback, and like, he can make the throws, he can make the reads, and he's only been hurt once in his career, but that narrative has followed him. When you watch Connor on film, what jumps out?
It's funny because I was talking to my brother, who's the biggest A&M fan, this morning, and he hit it right on the nail. I'm not going to take credit for it, but he gives you a Tom Brady and Peyton Manning vibe when you think of Connor. You think about all these articles that are coming out talking about how good he is. Connor can throw every ball on the route tree, from posts to slants to digs, coming right across the middle. He has shown us from his freshman year, and then the little bit that we seen last year before he got hurt, of what he's been able to do. He shows that he can do that. The only thing and knock that I would have to say on this young man, because one, we haven't seen that much of him, but what we have seen is that he can make those throws. Does he have the strong arm power to throw out there? In the past year, A&M has shown time and time again that in our running back core and our receiver core, that we have people that are on the national track team that are running solid 4.3s. And sometimes in this SEC play, you want to be able to just throw it up there and get it. And so does Connor have that to where he can throw it on the money down there and zip it? And that's the only thing that makes me question. But he's shown us he can throw everything on the route tree. He's shown us his mobility, unfortunately, by having to be on the run and throwing on the run. So I'm really excited to see what his future holds. And if the offensive line play improves, I think we're going to be talking about somebody that might be potentially one of the top offensive players at the end of the year.
Damontre, get me inside the mind of a defensive lineman, all right? You find out that Notre Dame has got a bunch of dudes that are new starters, right? They may have talent, because Notre Dame obviously recruits at a very high level, but they don't have that much experience. And then you've got a Damontre Moore on the other side. You got a Nick Scorton on the other side, the Shamar Stewart on the Shamar Turner. What is a first game vibe mindset for those guys?
That is, I know I keep saying phenomenal question, but when I tell you that I'm over here looking there, no weirdness or nothing, but I am salivating at the mouth by thinking, if I was a freshman right now, we have two guys right now that are on the Ted Hendricks watch list. And then you have Shamar Stewart, Turner, like you said. Those guys are about to hunt. And when you look at the offensive line play of Notre Dame, yes, they recruit at a high level, but you have two freshmen that are going to be started. Then you come back with a red shirt freshman as a guy that knows he's the guy that's on this watch list, and I'm playing on a national stage. Oh, man, this is a coming out party. I am sitting there saying, hey, if I'm not eating, you're eating. And if you're eating, I'm eating. And if we are eating, everyone's eating. I'm talking about sacks get paid. What they say, we used to have a saying in the D-line room, sacks get the racks. Like, these boys have the opportunity is there. The talent is there. The defensive coach is there. And when you say you have that inexperience, experience is the best teacher, which they don't have it right now. And these guys have been working together, training, and have proved time and time again that they can't rush with the guys that are already established. So it's time to go in there and welcome them boys to not only NCAA, not only to big boy football, but this is SEC wrecking crew defense football. So I'm going to have that type of talk with them and be like, hey, let's go out here and hunt, baby. And I know those guys. You having a former defensive lineman that not only played in the NFL, but has played at A&M during our glory days, and Tony Gerard aided my big brother, he's going to set that precedence, and he's going to let them feel that electricity right now to where them boys are saying, we're going here, and we're going to prove it. You're going to have to show us, either you're going to show us that you're a star day one, or you're going to learn to be a star, and you're going to take this whooping and go watch film next week and say, hey, how can we get better? Because they just abused us.
Damontre, we got to hit a break here. Are you going to be in studio anytime? Are you going to be in College Station?
Yes, sir. I'll be down there in 2 weeks. So, hey, let me know. Maybe we can get live in studio.
Let's do it, man. I appreciate you stopping by. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
I appreciate that. Thanks and gigging.
Later, man. Damontre Moore there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Great analysis there. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with a short segment before the 10 o'clock hour with Billy Liucci. Right now, FBS Appliance and their team of experts are here to help you find the appliances that make your house a home. They have all the top brands to make your life easier, and they want to make sure that you know that they pride themselves on offering a comprehensive solution that sets them apart from everybody else. When they came to our house, they already knew like the angles, how to move things. There were no scratching of walls because they had this video and they knew exactly the way they wanted to get it in there, how they were going to stack the washer and the dryer. They're the best. They're the absolute best. That's why we use them. They're committed to customer satisfaction at the core of everything that they do. They want you to feel that they're going to be a part of it the whole time. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas or find them online. FactoryBuilderStores.com. That is FactoryBuilderStores.com. It's FBS Appliance. How about that? Damontre Moore getting some love on the show. He was great. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Callie Gardner at the Angry Elephant and Using Social Center. We've got like 1 minute exactly. How the responses were pretty good to Damontre, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of texts saying they loved him. They loved that he had football and nerdy stuff in the same background. Super analytical, fantastic segment. Loved his analysis. So we've got lots of praise for him.
He was great. All right, when we come back, I'm sure we'll have a couple text messages, and we'll get to Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. You've got some questions for Billy that we didn't get to on the Luchador. Text them in right now, 979-693-1150. You can do that on the YouTube page or texags.com chat. All that and much, much more. As I said, you're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Should have Billy in studio in a little bit. We may try him on the phone here in the next minute or two. Let's before we do that, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Gardner, who's a rising star in the business, is with us. Callie.
Hello. Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that. We have a text from Matt.
Maybe I shouldn't say rising. You're already a star. How about that?
No. Rising is the correct word there.
Rising. That's a little cocky, Callie. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I was going the other direction of where you were going.
I know it.
We have a text from Matt in Houston, and this is from earlier in the show, and I believe we were talking about A&M Notre Dame, but he or she says over under 4.5 sacks for A&M.
In the Notre Dame game?
I believe that's what the reference
Notre
is.
Dame game over. I suck at this stuff, guys. Guess under? But
are we bad for saying under? I would say under, but
just because I
feel
think
like
that's a
5
lot.
is a lot.
Against the, but look, I don't know what to expect from Notre Dame's offensive line. I do expect us to eat, as Damontre would have said. I do expect that. But, 5 sacks is a lot against the top 10 team in the country. How about this? If they do the over, they're going to win 30-10, right? I just feel that, if we get 5, is it okay to say we? I'm an analyst. When I worked at ABC 13, I couldn't say we when we were talking about the Texans. I had to say the Texans, University of Houston, which would never be a we. But yeah, we, because it's circle of trust. We're in a family here. That all being said, I would take the under, but not by that. I wouldn't be surprised with 3 or 4 sacks, which I know it's not going out on a limb there, but 5 sacks seems a bit much.
A lot. I would agree.
And, I know they have a lot of guys without experience, but I don't see that being the case. What else?
Yes, we have a text that says kicking game is a concern and close games will come down to a field goal.
Well, your word is your bond, and so far things are looking really good there. All the reports back, special teams in general, and I know somebody on the YouTube page was asking about special teams, but I think overall things are really good from that respect. We'll see when the games start. I think it's going to be better than it was last year, just based on what we're hearing. If the folks in the back can call Billy Liucci on the hotline, that'd be great. Thanks, guys. Let's try to get one more topic in here, Callie, before we see what the latest is with Billy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask your opinion on this. I don't know if I have an opinion. Have you seen all the recent NIL deals with the private jet companies with these college football athletes?
Tell me more.
So Quinn Ewers has one. Jackson Dart had one. They were previously the only two. And then Carson Beck signed one not too long ago. And then I saw yesterday the Arizona quarterback and I think one more quarterback signed.
Afifa.
Yes. Fafita? No.
Fafita.
Yeah.
Fafita.
So that's 5 college quarterbacks with NIL deals with private jet companies. And I saw it entailed they could use it for their own use, team use, and something else. They had a certain number of hours they could use with the private jet company. So I don't know.
That is interesting. I would love a private jet deal. That would be awesome. That would be ideal. No doubt about that. I don't know if we're going to get Billy on the phone right now because it looks like they're calling him, so we'll try to get him here in a moment. But if you want to be a part of the conversation while we tap dance, 979-693-1150. As when it comes to that O-line the defensive line question, here's the thing. I can look at the bigger view. It's not about the Notre Dame game when I think about this defensive line, although this defensive line I think is going to have a very successful day. But I do think we're going to have games where you do see the 4.5, right? I do think we're going to have games where they take I would take the over in that. It's just that first game until I see it, it's hard to really verbalize that to you. And I'm not good. I don't gamble, guys. I don't predict. I don't know. I just tell you what I see. I report it. I tell you what my opinion is on that. And my opinion is this defensive line is going to be much improved from last year. And I liked last year's defensive line, but I think they're going to be used differently. I think these guys are going to be in a better position to get after the quarterback. And that's why when OB and I were talking earlier, I certainly do believe that the defensive line is going to lead the team in sacks more than I think the linebackers. Because as I mentioned, last year, Edge and Torian put up 11 of the 40-plus sacks, 42 sacks That's a lot for your linebackers. And I wouldn't be surprised if our linebackers are getting to the quarterback. That's not my point. But I do think you're going to have one or two guys on the defensive line with double-digit sacks. Nick Scorton's done it in the Big Ten. I know that Shamar Stewart last year was far from his goal from actual sack numbers, but he was able to get to the quarterback. Was it a sack and a half last year, Callie, if I remember that number correctly?
Sounds right.
You know, Shamar Turner with his 6, I think that's going to be closer to 10 this year, 8, 9, 10 in that range. So, yeah, I think as a group, we're going to see those numbers just in a week 1 setting. I think that would be very hard to do. And then when I asked Charean earlier about Le'Veon Moss getting over 1,000 yards, I think in my interview with him, I was just starstruck. I was like, you're going to get 1,400, buddy. That seems like an extreme number. But if we run the ball effectively, and especially with what I think our guard and interior line is going to look like, why not go over 1,200, 1,300 yards? If he is going to be – now, look, he's going to split some carries as you have to, obviously, but I think he's going to get – if it would have been 55-45 when Ruben was around, maybe it'd be 60-40. And now Amari Daniels is going to get his yards as well. So there's that. When you look at season totals for numbers, I just want to see it like a coach on a week-by-week basis. And I expect a heavy dose of running against Notre Dame just because I know their defensive line is great, but their secondary is what scares me. But with Colin Klein's offense, the creativity that you're able to show, and, I hopefully you'll see a little hybrid attack. 979-693-1150 is the number. As I mentioned at the top of the show, A&M coming in at number 22 in the ESPN Power Rankings. I'm curious if they are able to beat Notre Dame in week 1, because Notre Dame came in at number 6, what those numbers look like in that scenario. In that scenario, the week after, does A&M shoot up to a top 15 power ranking? And does Notre Dame, depending on how the game goes, how much would they drop, especially with those offensive and defensive line going at each other? All right, 979-693-1150. I think Billy's walking in, Callie, so just give me a text or a thought here as we kind of reset.
Yeah, we have a text from Kevin in BCS, and it says, hard agree that if A&M has 5 sacks against the Irish, then Notre Dame is getting smashed. And I agree. I think if you can attack the quarterback 5 times in a game, that's a sign of a dominant defensive line, but also a poor offensive line. So I think you could get to him even 10. I don't know.
Billy, a question came in over and under of sacks in the Notre Dame game at 4.5, and I took the unders. I just think 5 seems like an exorbitant number. But if they do get to the quarterback that many times, then obviously I would feel much more comfortable with A&M winning a convincing game as opposed to a close game.
I think the number of sacks certainly matters, but I think we're focusing too much on it. They might get to him 7 times. We've seen games where A&M defenses, I've seen a game or two where, DJ Durkin defense got to Jalen Milroe 4 or 5. I don't know how many they have last year. 6.
Yeah.
4, up back at Alabama the year before that. How many times did Mike Elko ring up and sack Bryce Young? I think that was 6 or 7 in that game. So you can see it. And, oh, by the way, both of those guys are not mobile. They're extremely mobile. If the O-line is just getting whipped, you're going to get 5 half-dozen sacks in a football game. Because there are times where the quarterback's just going to have to fall down and eat it. And there are times where he's going to get legitimately sacked and not see it coming. There are going to be times where he thinks he has time, but his blind side, somebody gets whipped and it's too quick to get rid of the football. All of those things. But let's not forget how mobile Riley Leonard is. And so yes, I do think the number of sacks will be telling, and it'll be a pretty telling statistic, because if you don't get a few of them, because I'm 100% convinced A&M's going to get a lot of pressure. If you don't get a few of them, at least, then that to me feels like that means Riley Leonard's done a good job of getting outside and escaping the pocket and causing you problems, because that's where he can, obviously cause big-time problems when he breaks contain. So part of, I think, any game plan that anyone plays Notre Dame this year is going to be to make sure you don't get too far upfield. And you contain Riley Leonard. You don't let him get outside of you. So that kind of sometimes by design is going to slow down the pass rush, but Mike Elko might do it in a lot of different ways. I mean, we've seen him here blitz defensive backs, linebackers, just to add to that. But I think over under, I think they'll get to him 5 times. Okay. I mean, but it depends. Like, is this going to be a 20-17 game where each quarterback throws, 20 passes, 22 passes, and Riley Leonard drops back 22 times? You're going to sack him on 1 out of every 4 dropbacks? I don't know. So. But yeah, if you were making me bet at 4.5 or whatever it was, I'd go over.
If I were to have you bet on where the sacks come from this year, last year, you got 11 sacks from your linebackers.
Yeah, I heard y'all, and I kind of laughed. I didn't laugh at you, but
with me.
Well, Edgerrin Cooper had 8 of them.
Yeah.
That's a very misleading, he's gone. And you added the guy that led a Power 5 conference in sacks. And you also added a Cassius Howell that led a G5 conference in sacks. So, yeah, I definitely think that's going to skew back the other way for sure. I mean, why on earth wouldn't it, right?
Yeah. I just thought, but I still think we're going to get sacks from the linebacker position.
Yeah. I do too, of course. I mean, why wouldn't you? But I don't know. I don't know what we're talking about. Yes. A lot of sacks. I think, Elko, you saw him. Yeah, a lot of this. You saw him last year. Last year. Well, you did if you watched Duke. Yeah. And you watched him at A&M. I mean, Alaka would get pressure at times. Buddy Johnson was a hell of a blitzer for him. Then you had those edgy, twitchy guys. What's his name? My God, it's not nice to forget his name. He was a defensive end from Plano. Ended up having like 8 or 9 sacks. He came among the league leaders in the SEC. Landon, I can't think of him. But he was like a 3-star recruit that came in and ended up developing. He was really undersized, and he had a very good year. Landis Durham. And then Tyree Johnson developed. He was gone before Clemens had hit his full development. Elko was kind of forced to play, other than Tyree, these big physical ends. Remember, there was a minute there where Bobby Brown was playing in, and then DeMarvin. I mean, these big physical to Kingsley Kiki. So, and he'll have that available to him this year too, but what he'll have is edge, twitchy, rangy dudes. So, yeah, I think the good news is I don't think he'll have to dial up blitzes that kind of leave his secondary or pass coverage, out to dry at all. You have to do it sometimes. There's a timing element of it where if you time it up right, you'll kill a play. You might create a turnover. You'll kill a drive, whatever. You're always going to do that. But he's not going to have to lean on it and depend on it like I think at times his first time through he did, which was a tough call because you're having to do that, but also the secondary was a noticeable weakness. I went through and looked at some of the names that started in A&M secondary during his 4 years here, and it certainly there are some good ones, but you had a lot of guys playing over those 4 years that would not see the field in the secondary. They wouldn't even sniff it.
There's a couple things from the Luchador yesterday that I thought we talked about, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper into depth, and we briefly spoke about Dalton Brooks. Can we go a little bit deeper on what we've been seeing from Dalton Brooks at camp and what you expect from him this year?
I think he's one of your breakout players on defense. I really do. And maybe on the team. I mean, I just think he's a great compliment to Bryce Anderson. I think all of a sudden you see, we talk about old secondaries, and I heard y'all talking this morning about Damontre. He's making plays with the Panthers. And as you or Olin said, he looked leaner, looked lighter. And you had 2 really big safeties in Damontre and Leon, and you gave up something in the way of range. Like both of those 2 guys, it could have been real easy to add 7-8 pounds to either of them and kind of spin them down into the box. They were that close to, in terms of their size. And Leon worked so hard to keep weight off, and you sacrificed range there. But as they got more and more experience, you went with experience over maybe guys that could cover the whole field. You have that in Bryce and Dalton. And I think Dalton Brooks, I don't know this, but I think if you looked at this roster when this new coaching staff got here, I think if you made them, truth serum and just said, hey, tell us who are the guys that went from wherever they were to the furthest in terms of how good they actually are versus expectations. And I think Dalton would be up there. I think probably like a Le'Veon Moss would be up there. Maybe even Amari Daniels. Just from where if you watch tape from last year and you just kind of word of mouth and you just walked in and didn't know. You didn't see them train in the offseason. Dalton Brooks is a sensational athlete. Maybe Albert Regis might be another one too. But Dalton Brooks is a sensational athlete in the secondary. He came from a small town in Shiner and did everything. You didn't get to see him exclusively at one position. As a safety, if you saw him today and had him come out of high school as a safety, he should be a 5-star recruit because of his athleticism. And that's why a place like Alabama was trying to sneak in on him late. I mean, he is athletically, he is as good as you're going to get. He covers ground. He tackles. He's a smart football player. And I love the fact that you got two guys that played so much offense in high school back there, and him and Bryce. Don't forget Bryce was a high school quarterback.
Right.
And so these guys they really know what they're seeing back there. I think Dalton Brooks can be a difference maker.
Same question for Cyrus Allen. For those of us who haven't seen enough of him, why are you excited about his potential in this offense?
Well, I've always been excited about him, but I don't know if I'd say to the level of Brooks.
Right.
I just think Cyrus is what he did at La Tech, and you watch him on tape, and he's got just a little playmaking ability to him. He makes things happen after the catch. He makes contested catches. He's a pretty fast player. He and Dalton Brooks, it's funny. I'll tell you later. It's funny you mentioned them together. But I just think Cyrus is a guy that from day one I looked at and just said he's going to play and might start. Now, I think he came out of spring where he probably was starting. And I'm not saying if they don't line up with 3 wide on next Saturday against Notre Dame that he won't be one of the 3 out there. He might be. I watched him. I saw a little level. If you look at even just his tape last year, but watch him in spring, there was kind of a level of consistency there that maybe, they said, okay, this unit needs that. But I don't think he's like a lay down. It's Noah, it's Shade, it's Moose, it's Cyrus to me, and other guys are going to have opportunities because I don't think you look and go, okay, those are 1, 2, 3. That looks like a national championship or an SEC championship receiving corps. Yet the best of Noah, the best of Moose, and the best of Jade, and what we've seen from Cyrus, and if you threw in Jabri Barber, and if we start seeing a bunch of Terry Bussey on offense, that might be an elite receiving corps.
We even mentioned Micah Tease yesterday.
And Micah Tease is starting to make plays. But that's a lot of what ifs. Yep. That's a lot of we need to see it. I do think this is a unit that's going to get better and better as the year goes on. And Cyrus is going to be a big part of it. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they started out, 3 wide on the first play against Notre Dame. And I think there's a good chance he'd be out there.
Yep. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with 24 and 24. Before that, Rollo Insurance Time. They are the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio, and the difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish your insurance goals. Their headquarters is right here in College Station on Highway 6, but they're all over the great state of Texas, 53 offices here in Texas. Beyond that, you can find them in Houston. You can find them in Dallas. You can find them in Austin, San Antonio, East Texas, West Texas, and, of course, they're outside of Texas as well. and they've got all your insurance needs covered, right? Homeowners, car owners, farmers, ranchers, hobby farmers, business owners with great priorities: God, family, and country. And by the way, if you're looking for a job, that's not a bad place to start. Reach out to Keith over there. They're always looking for great sales professionals there at Rollo Insurance. Again, the website is rolloinsurance.com. That is rolloinsurance.com. 888-44-ROLLO. Go to rolloinsurance.com. 888-44-ROLLO. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know a couple text messages have been coming in. Callie, help us out.
Yeah, we have a text from Ray in Great Falls, and he says, my boss is a Notre Dame fan, and we have a bet. If A&M wins, he has to wear my jersey and sing the Aggie wore him, and vice versa if we lose. A&M 24, Notre Dame 3. Gig 'em.
I don't play that game. That game of wearing another school's jersey, I won't. I just won't do it. Like, fine. I'm not a good betting person. I'm not going to wear a Texas jersey ever. Ever. I can only wear, like, I don't know.
What about a Miller Moss jersey?
No, I can't. I can't. Billy, you ever do a bet with somebody sent in, and if your team loses, you got to wear their jersey? You ever do that? I don't do that. I'm not going to wear a Texas.
I've never done the jersey bet.
Have you done the hat?
No, I've never done attire. I've done, like, you got to buy a meal.
Okay, that I'm fine with.
Or I actually lost one. We were joking about this morning. I lost one to one of my Bama friends, and then doubled down on it's a different Bama game. I don't remember which one it was, but doubled down. And so it was like the bet was from SEC Media Days. It was basically like whoever lost had to buy the drinks that night, but the next time we hung out, buy the drinks, but also drink as many of these spicy margs at this joint in Nashville called what's it called? It's Underground Pushing Daisies. And you had to drink, and they were nasty. They were good, but like super, 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 super spicy, like serrano peppers or habanero, whatever it was. It was like a whole next level. But so
yeah,
I'll bet like a drinking bet or a food bet.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just not gonna. There's no way I'm gonna wear a opposing team's jersey. I'm sorry. When mayors and governors do that, I'm gonna wear like for Super Bowl or what? No, I'm not gonna do that.
I would do something like if you wanted to up the stakes, like if you had a friend in it that went to a different, like SEC town, or like a Longhorn, God forbid you lose that bet, but where the winner has to, if it's Texas, the winner has to treat the loser to
a steak or something,
or the loser has to treat to like the next year's game.
Okay,
they have to buy tickets, or you have a friend in a different SEC city, and it's like, hey, winner has to pay for the loser's flight next year, to like something more, a little higher stake like that would be fine too.
Yeah, I'm not wearing other schools. It's not gonna happen.
I'm not saying I wouldn't, but
I wouldn't.
I mean, I just probably, it would be a bet that if I made it, I'd have to feel really confident. And then if I lost that, I'd probably do it, but it would be, problem is depending on who you're betting, like I would do it with someone in the media. Okay. Because they're suffering as much as you are if you lose it. Because it's going to be on video and camera and people are going to screen, so if it's somebody else that has as much to lose, then maybe.
I'm not I like catching you switching jerseys. No way.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine sitting up here in burnt orange, not in a million years.
No
it might even be one of those bets that you just wouldn't make it. Because if you lost it, you'd have to pay up. I feel like.
We'll do one more text because I know there was one about the sack total, Callie, and then we'll hit a break and we'll do 24 on the other side since we're late for it.
The sack total.
Are we doing another thing about the sacks?
No, we're just going to read. We're not going to ask about it. Kevin, I'm sorry. I'll just read it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hard agree. If A&M has 5 sacks against the Irish, then Notre Dame is getting smashed. That's it. That was the only
one. I agree with that. And look, if they have 3, it doesn't mean A&M loses that game. Now, if they have none or 1, that would be really surprising, and that would either mean they did a great job of just getting it out of Riley Leonard's hand. I don't think he's that type of QB, just catch and throw accurately and do that for a whole game. It would probably mean that he eluded the pressure several times and created. I don't think that's going to happen. I think when you get as much pressure as I think A&M's going to generate with the 4 guys up front, and yes, there's going to be other stuff mixed in, but when you generate that much pressure with 4 and at most 5, but really if you can do that with 4, the only if is going to be, can they keep him contained? Because there's going to be nothing for him to see if you've got 7 in coverage. There's going to be nothing for him to see that he can get rid of the ball quick enough to kind of avoid that trouble. The only way will be is if he gets outside and can really extend a play and then kind of freelance. And I think with that much pressure, that doesn't really. You look at me. Remember, and I don't. His guy is nothing like Johnny. Okay, but you remember what LSU did to him at Kyle Field his Heisman year. Sam Montgomery and Mingo. He was getting them early in the game, and they started literally kind of rushing straight up the field and kind of hanging out there. And he was kept in that pocket and wanting to get at, and they did the best job anybody did all year on Johnny because he couldn't spin out of there and break contain. That's going to be, I think, a big key with Riley Leonard. Again, he's not Johnny. But he is fast, and I think containing him is going to be the big thing. And look, the guy coaching him up, not only does he understand how to contain mobile QBs, we've seen him do it, he also understands Riley Leonard.
Right.
He also understands Mike Denbrock because he was very interested in hiring him.
Yeah.
And he ended up hiring Colin Klein, who I think I've said it before, just blew him away in that interview in Denver.
All right, we'll hit a break here. Let's talk about pain from arthritis. It's not good, right? You want to start moving again. You have bone-on-bone constant pain. It takes you away from doing the things that you love to do, whatever that may be, going for walks, running, jump rope, playing tennis, whatever you're into doing that you're not allowed to do because of all this pain. Stop. Call QC Kinetics right now and get back to living the life that you want to live without having to have surgery, without having to take drugs. They use these cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. So if you've got this chronic pain you've been dealing with, you need to know that steroids and surgery are no longer your only options. You can have advanced regenerative medicine treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you that long-term relief that you've been looking for with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. The future of medicine is right now. It is QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That's 979-452-6000. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It's time to do 24 and 24, brought to you by FBS Appliance, committed to delivering an exceptional experience from start to finish. You can trust them to provide unparalleled service and support every step of the way because FBS Appliance is your trusted appliance store. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas or find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. And number 4 on that list, Billy, you heard us talking about him earlier, is Torian York.
I did not hear you talking about him earlier. I missed that part. So I did not know who it was today.
Okay, Torian York.
Should be a pretty good top 3 if he's sitting at number 4 because I think he's a guy who very quickly, immediately established himself as one of the better players on this football team, one of the better talkers, leaders. I think he represents A&M well when, whether he's at SEC Media Days or with the gaggle here around campus. Just a great story. He's a hungry, driven football player. He's one of those guys that I always say, and I mean this, and there's this thing now, this younger group of Aggies, sometimes I feel like they don't like this and they think they don't get it. I'm just telling you, I want A&M to have as many 5 stars as they can get as long as they're the Christian Kirks and Myles Garretts of the world, the ones that pan out, not the ones that don't. And I'll leave off their names, but you guys all know who they are. I don't even want the ones that pan out somewhere else because that doesn't do Texas A&M a damn bit of good. You want guys – the whole you want guys that want to be there thing, that's a little overblown. Everybody in 2024 and moving forward is going to – there's going to be an NIL component to their school choices. There's always going to be. There's going to be that whether they stay or not, whatever. But you want guys that wouldn't have it any other way than representing the Maroon and White when they get here. And they embrace it, and they have a chip on their shoulder. And I'm telling you, A&M's best teams in every sport almost ever have that chip on their shoulder, and they play with something to prove, and they practice with something to prove every day, and they go out there on Saturdays with something to prove every day, no matter how good they get. You can look at the 98 football team, you can, with Dan and Dante Hall. Oh, I'm 5'8", and only Missouri recruited me.
Right.
And, Dante had that chip. Obviously, Dan, you heard Randy McCown talking about it. You go, the AC Law-led Joe Jones basketball team. Yeah, they ended up being stars. They were also a part of 0-16, or Joe signed on with 0-16. That team went from 0-16 to the Sweet 16.
Right.
You look at the 2012 Aggies with Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans leading the charge there and what they were as recruits. So this chip on the shoulder thing, and I could give you a million other examples. A&M needs – you don't need all guys that were overlooked in recruiting, but you need guys like Torian York that have that hunger and that kind of represent, I think, Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And if Torian York wasn't so damn good at football, I think he'd be like a hell of a 12th man. He'd be that guy that if he wasn't as good as he is, you'd say, okay, that guy's a 12th man. Now you'd look up, that guy's running down on kickoffs. Next thing you know, he's playing linebacker. Next thing you know, he's starting, like a Michael Hodges type story. Fortunately, he came in and was able to start year one. He is a great football player. He's not a good one. He's a great player because his instincts, he has just a nose for the football. He finds it. But the good news is there's so much area for him to improve. There's so much room to improve. And under Jay Bateman and Elko, I think he's going to do just that. Because for as productive as he was last year and for as impressive as he was in terms of instincts and being a vocal leader and things like that, he's not your prototypical guy out there in terms of size, mainly because of height. I think he's really added some muscle mass this offseason. He looks a lot different than he did a year ago. I think that's going to show in his quickness and physicality. But, man, to me, linebacker, maybe more so than maybe not any, but most positions. I think of positions like linebacker and center where it's so what are your football instincts and what are those intangibles that you have as a player? And I've seen so many guys overcome any physical limitation. They can do it at center and they can do it at linebacker. And I mentioned Dat Win.
Right.
And Torian York is on this path with the season he had last year to kind of rank way up there in terms of linebackers and their on-field production at Texas A&M. And I think he's on the verge. He could be one of those guys that has an all-SEC sophomore season. And he's playing behind a terrific amount of talent on the defensive line. That's only going to help him too. So just a smart, heady dude with a lot of talent. He's just not like that. The only thing he is not a 5-star in is like the height, weight, speed combo. But when you put pads on and you watch him play, he's a 5-star football player. And he already is as a freshman. And if he makes that jump that I think he can make, he could have a really good season. And I look for him to be I'll tell you what, I look for him to be a lot more disruptive this year than he was a season ago. I think you're going to start to see him create a lot more drive-killing type plays. Whereas last year, that's what Edgerrin Cooper did.
Right.
I could definitely see that being Torian York this year. Yeah.
Hey, before we hit a break, I want to ask you, would you be surprised if Georgia had a couple of losses this year with that schedule that they have? I mean, everybody has them as their number one, but when you really look at that schedule,
it's tough.
It is a tough one.
2 losses for Georgia.
Would you be surprised by that?
I say that a lot. I said that a lot with Bama, and it rarely ever happened. Yeah. It always felt like they were going to have a couple of losses, but they just kept winning because they're just the best team. So, yes, that is a really tough schedule when you look at Bama, at Texas,
at Ole Miss,
Clemson. Ole Miss is going to be good. Tennessee's good.
Even at Kentucky.
Auburn at home. At Kentucky, who's played them very tough in the last couple of years. Rivalry game against Florida. I think at most 2. But I'm are they better than Clemson? They should be.
They should be.
Are they better than Bama? Yeah, I think they should be. Are they better than Texas? Yeah, I think they should be. Are they better than Ole Miss? Yeah. But of those 4 games, do they go
2-2?
I think they go 3-1, and then you say, do they lose another one? I'd pick them to go 11-1, and that's a hard pick. But Georgia's freaking.
They're a machine.
They got so much talent, and you have to look at them like Bama, and they have so much talent that you don't know about. They have so many guys that are going to play, that were backups last year. They're going to step up and play and be big time guys for them. It all is going to depend, to me, at Georgia. It's going to depend on does their quarterback take the next step?
So same question for Bama. Would you be surprised if Bama have 2 or 3 losses?
I'm looking at Bama's schedule.
I
could see Bama dropping
3. They're not going to lose to Wisconsin.
But yeah, I could see a 9-3 Bama, but I think if you pick that, Wisconsin, Georgia,
back-to-back,
at Tennessee, Missouri at home, at LSU, that's a tough 3-game stretch. At OU's tough.
Yeah.
And then to end it with Auburn. So, and that second half of the season, they could lose 5 of those 6 games. They won't lose 5 out of 6. I'm saying there are 5 of those 6 games, to me, are in play for them to lose. I don't see how they'd lose more than 2 of them. And then if you throw in Georgia, I think their floor is a 3-loss team.
3-loss team.
I think that's their floor. So usually Bama doesn't hit the floor. Usually Kalen DeBoer does not hit the floor. DeBoer doesn't hit the floor. No more.
That's an Olin Buchanan
line. Not in Tuscaloosa.
No Mo.
It's DeBoer, so it's more. It's not Mo.
That
would be if it's DeBoe. No Mo.
I think I want to change the way he says it, like Eminem does on songs. Have you noticed this narrative? We got to hit a break, but have you noticed this narrative out there that Texas's schedule is actually harder than people are? This is recently.
Yeah, I'm starting to see it. It's what they do. It's what these people do. It really is. It's just the things they do are incredible. Just like the whole.
But it's working with the national media, by the way.
Yeah,
I guess
it always does work with them. They fall for it every time. I've had 25 years of experience in watching it happen. It's gonna happen every time. They've fallen for Steve Sarkisian as Saint Sarkisian, They've bought it hook, line, and sinker with Joel Klatt leading the way. But if I'm looking at the latest incident like the one you're talking about is this. It's not latest. It's been going on for this Colt McCoy thing.
Mm-hmm.
He retired. Colt McCoy is a player I respected when he was a recruit. A&M recruited him. He came here to camp. He was coming from Jim Ned High School. He was a state champion there, I believe. He was a great player at Texas. You had to respect the way he played, the type of leader he was, the way he represented that program. Model citizen, not just in high school, but in college and all the way through a really good pro career.
Right.
Really good pro career. I just feel like he always exceeded, or he got the. Don't underestimate. Colt was an athlete and talent. He got the absolute most out of it, and not many athletes can play that long and walk away and go, "I got the absolute most out of it." Okay. So with that said, this whole narrative that it was like a lay down fact that Texas is going to beat Alabama if Colt McCoy, the Freudian slip there, if Colt McCoy doesn't get hurt, because they're also saying they'd have done it if Quinn didn't get hurt. I believe it more so with the Quinn not getting hurt thing than the Colt, because Quinn, that game had gone on a little longer. I think he was rolling. But by the way, when you don't protect your quarterback and he gets hit, they get hurt. That's just like us saying, well, if Connor Wigman didn't get hurt last year, A&M could have won this game, and they could have.
It's true.
But
we don't know.
Texas, I watched that game. I remember that national championship game. I remember Colt McCoy and company carving them up early, going up and down the field on the first couple drives. I remember thinking, damn, if this keeps up, Texas.
Well, we've seen that before.
It was 3-0 when he got hurt. I believe the score was 3-0. Like, Mark Ingram was going to take control at some point, and so was that defense. Probably. Not for sure. Texas might have won. But this narrative that it's like a fact and that it ended their dynasty, Texas had no kind of dynasty going at that point.
5 years.
They had one, they had one national title. They weren't winning Big 12 titles often under Mac. Colt McCoy, it wasn't the end of a dynasty. It was the end of Mac Brown's incredible run there.
Yeah.
It was the end of the greatest coach in modern history there. I don't know if Darrell Royal's modern or not. 60s, I guess that's modern, but it was the end of a tremendous era.
Yep.
And it kind of went downhill after that relatively quickly. That it wasn't the end of a dynasty. You look at what Alabama did, Alabama football. You look at what Georgia's doing right now. It was nothing like that. It was a Big 12 dynasty for sure. It was a Big 12 dynasty, but yeah, I mean, that narrative that they win that game if he doesn't get hurt, it's amazing how many people just state it as fact. They might have, but it was so far from a sure thing against that Alabama team.
All right,
Greg McElroy would argue with that, I'm sure.
We'll hit a break here.
Maybe.
We'll come back with a very short segment on the other side. It's TexAgs Radio. It is time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls and a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave, serving Aggie Land since 1984. They have your favorite pizza. They have your favorite pepperoni rolls and reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Callie, any other text messages in the 2 minutes that we have left that Billy can chew on?
We had a chat in the YouTube, and it was asking about how the staff is approaching manning the special teams. Are they shying away from starters, or is everyone available?
Yeah, I don't think they're shying away from starters. From what I think, everyone's available, and I think that special teams is going to it's taking on a much greater degree of importance here under this staff, and it's not. It's just I think Jimbo did it like this. I think his ways worked for him at Florida State. And I think ways of recruiting, of managing his program, of offense, which we talked about a lot. And I talked to him a lot, and you could tell that like he thought, well, if I can get these type of guys, then we can do what we did. In some instances, that was probably true, but a lot of instances the game had changed, or the game of college football. I mean,
Right.
By game, I mean the recruiting process, the NIL, all that stuff. It had kind of changed. And it's not as easy as making a joke of like, well, NIL has always been there.
Right.
Just they're just calling it that now. So it wasn't quite that simple. Because with that comes managing players every day and having someone aware of if a kid's unhappy and a young kid that you want to keep in the program, and you got to keep a problem from developing before it develops, and playing time. And, I know that it's easier with the smaller sports, but I actually know, Slosh and Mike Early and Nolan Kane and that staff that, has now been broken apart minus Early and the guys that stayed. They were very good about knowing, hey, these freshmen are kind of, waffling. And you got to do that now as big picture. You're out.
My fingers are all messed up. We'll see you next time. Bye.